The Persian Cinderella Shirley Climo by Group 5.
Long ago, when Persia was a land of princes and poets, there lived a maiden named Setare. Her name meant star, and it was given her on the day she was born because of a star-shaped mark on her left cheek. The brows above her dark eyes arched as gracefully as the path of an arrow, and her long black hair gleamed like polished ebony. She was delicate, with slender ankles and tiny feet, but her beauty only added to her misery, for it made her stepsisters jealous. Setare had scarcely opened her eyes to see or her mouth to cry when her mother died. Although she lived with her stepmother, 2 stepsisters, 3 aunts, and 4 female cousins in the woman's part of the house, she was often lonely. Setare seldom saw her father, for he was busy in the world of men. Her stepmother and aunts ignored her, paying no more heed to her than to a fly on the wall. She belonged to no one, and nothing belonged to her. She wore her stepsisters' cast of clothes and ate their leftovers, sometimes finding only lemon rinds to fill her dish. Even so, Setare grew lovelier with the years. Sometimes Layla, the older sister, would pinch Setare's cheek and scoff.
That's not a star. It's a dirty spot.
Nahid, the second sister, would wrinkle her nose in disgust.
A little sister must walk in a mud puddle.
Then Setare would run into the walled garden and scrub her face in the fountain, but she never could rub off the mark. One morning in late winter, Setare's father honored the woman's quarters with a visit.
Prince Midas invite all to the royal palace for Nowruz the New Year,
He announced. Opening his money pouch, he gave everyone a large gold coin.
buy cars in the bazaar to make new clothes.
He told them. As he handed Setare her coin, he patted her hand and added,
Choose wisely.
Each girl and every woman, no matter her age, covered her head with a cloak, so that no stranger might look on her face. Then, like a flock of blackbirds, the mothers, daughters, sisters, and cousins flew down the road to the marketplace. The bazar's covered street was lined with shops and crowded with animals and people. Goats bleated and donkeys brayed. Merchants hawked pearls drawn from the waters of the Persian Sea, and traders shouted prices for silks brought by camel caravans from faraway China. Carpets woven in jewel-like colors brightened the walls, and the scent of ginger and cinnamon from the Indies and perfume oils from Egypt hung in the air. Setare sniffed something familiar, too.
Toasted almond.
She turned and saw a peddler stirring a pan of nuts over a brazier. She had nothing to eat that day, and her mouth watered. Shyly, Setare held out her gold coin. Quickly, the peddler snatched it. He gave her a wrapper of warm almonds and a handful of small silver coins in return. Setare finished the nuts in 2 mouthfuls, and then counted her money.
I can still buy clothes.
She said. She pushed through the crowds, anxious to find her family again. But as she hurried, a wrinkled woman tugged on her cloak and held out a brass bowl.
Spare a coin, young mistress,
She begged. Setare hesitated. The old lady was shivering and her robe hung in tatters.
You are more in need of new crosses than I can muster.
Setare said, opening her fingers. She let most of her coins clatter into the woman's bowl.
good fortune come to you,
The comb cried.
and soon.
Setare smiled and looked down at her remaining coins.
At least I may buy such.
She told herself. As she hastened past a pottery stall, Setare saw a small jug lying in the dust. It was made of ordinary clay, and a jagged crack ran down one side, but it was glazed with a blue as bright as the sky. Setare could not take her eyes from it.
That's port. Is it for sale?
She asked the shopkeeper. He peered at her.
Is it worth much?
He began. Cetera couldn't resist picking up the jug. It felt as warm to her touch as something alive.
This is all I have.
She offered him her last 3 coins.
Please.
The shopkeeper sold Cetera the little blue jug. Her stepsisters could not believe what Cetera had bought with her money.
A leaky old pot.
Squealed Nahib.
Now you will have nothing new to wear for Noras.
Layla scolded.
That's unlucky. You will disgust us. Then I shall not go to Plint Maiden Festival.
Cetera retorted, but she feared she had not chosen wisely. Nowruz was only 8 days away. The new year began on the first day of spring. Already the snow that iced the outburst mountains was melting beneath the midday sun, and many colored wildflowers carpeted the hillsides. Inside the women's quarters, everyone was busy measuring and cutting and stitching their new clothes. Cetera sat alone in the garden, listening to the call of a turtle dove in the pomegranate tree and holding her little blue jug.
I don't care. If you crack it.
Cetera rubbed the pot with her finger.
But I wish you were filled with jasmine blossom.
The jug began to quiver and her fingertips tingled. Suddenly the air was sweet with fragrance, and her jar brimmed with white flowers.
Magic!
She gasped. On the outside, the jug looked as always. On the inside, perhaps a party. If the fairy granted
Please, little
one wish.
I am hungry.
A basket of figs and apricots appeared before her. Then she said,
Little Jack, I am cool.
And at once she was wrapped in a warm shawl of the softest goat hair. She said, Little jug, I am from a tree. Perch on her shoulder and cooed in her ear. Cetera did not ask for more, fearing her stepmother and stepsisters might notice. The party in the jar was so lonely. The dove flew down on secret. The eve of the new year, Cetera watched while the others paraded in their fine new clothes. Layla smirked and smoothed her sea-green dress, saying,
Is it too bad you cannot attend Prince Maida's festival, said Tiara.
She would rather stay here and talk to old pot.
Nahid said, for she had spied her stepsister whispering to it. Cetera did not answer, but as the gate of the courtyard swung shut behind the others, she picked up her blue jug.
Would you kindly give me a girl for Norus?
She asked. The jug in her hands grew warm and began to jiggle. When it stopped trembling, a dark red silk dress, the color of ripe pomegranate seed, was spread before her. Beside it lay a golden pendant to hang about her neck and turquoise bracelets to wear on her wrists. Best of all, there were 2 small diamond-studded anklets to sparkle at her ankles. Cetera patted the jug.
Thank you,
she said. Then she dressed quickly and covered her head with a scarf, and said,
I am ready to go.
One magic moment later, she found herself outside Prince Merdad's palace. Cetera climbed the marble staircase and glanced timidly into the arcade on her right. A handsome youth stared boldly back at her, smiled, and stroked his beard. Cetera clutched her scarf to her face and fled through the arcade on her left. She found herself in a huge ball filled with women. They sat on silk cushions and helped themselves to heaping trays of roast lamb and whitefish, to spiced cucumbers, sweet oranges, and tart rhubarb, and to goblets of sherbet cooled with melted snow. Musicians plucked tunes on lutes and zithers, and cymbals rang as dancers twirled. Magicians juggle flashing knives, and snake charmers from India coax cobras from their baskets. Poets rhyme verses, and fortune tellers read the future from their star charts. No one recognized Cetere. She kept her head bent and her star mark hidden. Even Layla and Nahid, dazzled by her finery, believed her to be a princess from some distant land. When the rushlights turned low, the music and amusements ended.
How could time fly so?
Cried Cetere, dismayed. She would pay a dear price if her stepmother returned and found her bed empty. Cetere fled from the palace, running through the twisting streets. In her haste, she did not feel a diamond bangle slip from her ankle. She did not hear a splash into the shallow canal that flowed beside the road. She did not discover her loss until she reached home. All night the anklet lay in the ditch, but in the morning, the sun shone on the water and made the diamonds flash. A horse, drinking from the ditch, snorted and reared.
Steady.
Shouted a stable boy. Tugging the reins, he fished the anklet from the water.
I must show this to my master. Extraordinary.
The horsemaster exclaimed, blinking at the band of diamonds.
I must take this to the palace.
A tiny treasure.
Prince Mirdad declared, dangling the bangle from his finger.
I must find the one who is.
How can a man look for a maiden?
Asked Mirdad's mother, the queen.
What do you know of women and their ways?
She rose.
I myself will find the owner of the anklet.
The queen ordered her bearers to carry her curtained palanquin to every household in the city. In each, she bid the woman to put on the bangle.
Prince Mirdad wishes to meet the maiden who can wear it,
she explained. Young and old tried to squeeze into the anklet. They pushed their heels and pulled their toes until their feet were pinched and purple, but not even the thinnest among them could put it on. At last, the queen called at the house where Cetere lived. One after another, the stepmother, aunts, and cousins failed to force on the anklet. Although Layla and Nahid cleverly oiled their feet, they still could not wiggle their slippery toes through the band.
Enough!
The queen snapped. As she turned to go, Cetere appeared wearing the red dress, the gold necklace, and the turquoise bracelets. Cetere crossed her arms over her chest, bowed to the queen, and said,
Please allow me. Exalted one.
Without difficulty, she eased her foot through the diamond bangle. As her stepmother and stepsister stared in disbelief, she lifted the hem of her gown and revealed the matching anklet.
Come,
Said the queen.
the pin awaits you at the palace.
One moment. If you will.
Stammered Cetere, she hurried to fetch her little jug from the garden. Layla followed and pinched her arm.
How?
She
There is a parrot in my jar. I need only with.
Pulling away, Cetere ran to the queen's palanquin. The queen gave Cetere a mirror so that she might gaze at the prince's reflection without the embarrassment of facing him. Cetere peered into it and caught her breath. She had seen those eyes, that smile, even the beard before. Now he wore a tulip-shaped turban, but this was surely the man she had glimpsed at Nowruz. Mirdad stared back.
Cetere.
He exclaimed.
Cetere.
Cetere had forgotten that he could see her image in the looking-glass too. Quickly she covered her cheek with her hand.
No.
Prince Mirdad pulled her fingers away.
Your mark is heaven sent, the star foretell that we shall marry.
Cetere knelt and touched her head to the ground. Then she looked up at him and said,
You honor me.
The queen summoned Cetere's father to arrange the marriage. For 39 days, the entire kingdom celebrated. Cetere invited her stepsister to join the festivities in the palace, but even that did not please them. They grew more jealous and vengeful with every passing day. On the 40th morning, Layla grumbled.
Today is the Olga. The wedding ceremony, etc. will become a princess.
Why not me? Nahid threw a cushion at the palace cat. Why not you?
Perhaps
Layla murmured.
if Cinderella were gone.
Then the party would help us. The sisters looked at each other and giggled. Why not? Look at each other and giggled. While Ceteris strolled with the queen in the palace garden, her stepsister slipped into her room, pried open her chest, and snatched the little blue jug. Layla held it up.
Listen,
She ordered.
we want Cinderella gone forever. Give us a way to be rid of her.
The little blue jug shuddered. It grew so hot that smoke seeped through its crack.
Help!
Layla screamed. Dropping it, the jug shattered, and scattered among the bits of blue clay gleamed 6 jeweled hairpins.
Ah!
Said Nahid, picking them up. Special pins for a special sister. That afternoon, the stepsisters smilingly offered to arrange Ceteris' hair for the ceremony. First, they washed it in scented rose water, and then they brushed it until it shone.
Married women must pin up their hair.
Advised Layla. She coiled Ceteris' hair at the nape of her neck and pushed in one of the pins.
Ouch!
Cried Ceteris.
How classy of me.
Layla said.
Let me try again.
She thrust another pin into Ceteris' hair, and another and another.
Please.
Ceteris began, but her voice grew weak.
5, 6.
Nahid jabbed in the last hairpins.
Don't.
With those words, Ceteris vanished. In her place trembled a small gray turtle dove. It cooed mournfully and flew out the palace window.
Where is my star?
Prince Murda demanded.
I cannot find her.
Ceteris has flown. Layla giggled.
But we are here.
Nahid smiled and said sweetly.
Why not choose one of us?
No one can even take her place.
Cried the prince. He ordered searches through all of Persia, offering rewards for her return. But Ceteris was nowhere to be found.
Ay.
Prince Murdat moaned, plucking hairs from his beard in anguish. He shut himself within his royal chamber and saw no one, not even the queen. He refused the delicious dishes brought to him and grew thin and pale. His only companion was a turtle dove that often came to his window. The bird was shy, but the prince was patient, and after many months, it let him stroke its head. Beneath the bird's feathers, the prince felt heart bumps.
Happens.
The prince
How
exclaimed.
strange.
He gently pulled one out.
I shall try not to hurt you, small friend.
The turtle dove sat quietly while he drew out 4 more hairpins. As he removed the 6th one, the bird fluttered and gave a cry. Prince Murdat cradled it in his arms, and then discovered it was not a dove he held.
Cetera.
Withdrawing the last pin had broken the spell. At the wedding ceremony, Prince Murdat and Princess Ceteris sat on a gilded couch as 1,000 matched pearls were showered upon them. Layla and Nahid watched with bulging eyes. Their cheeks burned with jealousy. They puffed up, sputtering with spite, until they were so filled with rage that their hearts simply burst. That was the end of them and of their spite. But it was just the beginning of happiness for Ceteris, the Persian Cinderella. Thank you for watching and listening.